By the time she realized how much she loved him, he was already leaving forever. Some regrets don't come with a second chance.
Lan's family lives in a spacious apartment in Hanoi, Vietnam. The apartment has a small balcony bursting with flowers and foliage, where the gentle morning sunlight falls each day. Lan, 20 years old, beautiful and vibrant, is an art lover. After graduating from the University of Culture and Arts, she became a dance teacher, bringing grace and passion to every step. Sun, 23 years old, is a tall, handsome, and intelligent young man. A graduate of the University of Architecture, he quickly found a job that matched his expertise, an architectural engineer specializing in interior design and living space decoration. Sun's hometown is a small village in a peaceful rural area. His mother is nearly 60 years old, a simple and kind-hearted woman who is hardworking and thrifty. She is accustomed to a modest life in her hometown and currently lives alone. Sun and Lan met by chance during a volunteer trip as students. Their initial simple conversations gradually drew them closer, and before they knew it, a deep connection had blossomed between them. Their beautiful love story began on a clear sunny day in a park overflowing with trees and vibrant flowers. Under the gentle sunlight, Sun softly placed his first kiss on Lan's lips, the moment that marked the beginning of their shared journey. Their wedding was held at a magnificent wedding venue with the blessings of friends and family. Sun looked radiant in his elegant gray suit, while Lan was happy in her pristine white wedding dress, hand in hand with her husband, standing on the stage amidst a sea of love. After the wedding, the couple moved into a rather nice high-rise apartment with a balcony overlooking the park. Every morning on their days off, they would stand together on the flower-filled balcony, silently watching the city awaken. Their eyes met, smiles bloomed on their lips, peaceful and content, simple yet complete. 2 years after their marriage, Sun suggested bringing his mother from their hometown to live with them, so he could take care of her in her final years. His father had passed away when Sun was young, and his mother was his only support. She raised him, gave him a good education, and helped him become the man Lan loved. Lan nodded immediately. She even personally tidied up the south-facing room of their apartment. It was a room bathed in sunlight every morning, warm and bright. Lan prepared a few small pots of soil for her mother so she could plant a couple of flowers to brighten up the house. When Lan opened the door to show Sun, Sun said nothing, but simply lifted Lan up and spun her around in the sunlight. When Lan struggled to get down, Sun held her tightly and said, "Let's go pick up our Mrs. Hugh." Sun was tall and big, while Lan was petite. Whenever Sun hugged Lan, she always felt that if he just gently closed his arms, her whole body could be swallowed up in his embrace. Every time Lan got angry, Sun would lift her up and spin her around until she was so scared she had to cling to his neck and beg for forgiveness. That feeling of both fear and happiness was something Lan had once been captivated by. But ever since my mother came along, small conflicts have started to creep into our lives. My mother still has many customs from the countryside. Lan likes to buy fresh flowers to put in the living room. My mother looks at them for a long time and then sighs. "Why waste it, my child?" "None of the flowers are edible," Lan smiled. "Having flowers in the house makes people feel happier." "Mom," Sun gently interjected, "that's just how people are in the city." "Mom." But every time Lan brought flowers home, her mother would ask the price. When Lan told the truth, her mother would just sigh. One day, Lan bought a few things, and her mother asked how much each item cost. Lan honestly told her, and Sun pinched her nose, saying, "Silly girl, just tell your mother you spent less money so she won't feel so bad." And so, Lan and her husband's happiness began to show small scratches. What annoyed his mother most was seeing Sun get up early to cook breakfast for Lan. For her, a man in the kitchen was against the norm. In rural areas, it was believed that every morning, the wife should get up early and cook breakfast for the whole family. At the dinner table, her mother's face was always grim. Every time she clattered her chopsticks and bowls, Lan pretended not to notice. Lan teaches dance at the children's palace. Each morning, getting a few extra minutes in her warm blanket is a rare joy for Lan. Therefore, she simply closes her eyes and ignores her mother's displeasure. But mom isn't always wrong. There were things her mother wanted to help with, but unintentionally made things more complicated for Lan. Once, my mother noticed a small tear in one of my thigh-high stockings. She sewed it up with a needle and thread, and the next morning, without noticing, I wore it as is. When I got to work, my colleagues saw it and said, "Lan is so thrifty." It made me feel embarrassed. My mother gathered all the used plastic bags, saying she wanted to save them to sell to the recycling center all at once. As a result, the kitchen corner was overflowing with plastic bags. She was afraid of wasting dishwashing water, so she only rinsed them briefly. Lan had to wait for her mother to go into her room to wash them again. When her mother accidentally caught her doing that, she slammed the door shut and cried in her room all afternoon. That night, Sun was angry with Lan. He didn't say a word to her all night. Lan tried to make amends, but Sun remained silent. Feeling resentful, Lan asked, "Where did I go wrong?" Sun glared. "A dirty bowl won't kill anyone. Why don't you give your mother a little leeway?" After that incident, her mother stopped talking to Lan. The family atmosphere became strained. And even in her own apartment, Lan began to feel cramped. My mother insisted on cooking breakfast herself. Every time she saw Sun eating heartily, then glanced at Lan with a reproachful look. Lan was so afraid of that scene that she often took a carton of milk outside to drink instead. That evening, Sun complained, "Lan, you don't eat at home because you think mom's cooking isn't clean, right?" Sun turned his back. Lan lay behind Sun, her tears soaking the pillow. Then one morning, as Lan was trying to eat the bowl of porridge her mother had cooked, she suddenly vomited violently. She ran into the bathroom without even covering her mouth. When she looked up, her mother was crying, and Sun was staring at her with eyes full of anger. Lan was terrified, but couldn't say a word. For the first time, Lan and her sibling had a really big argument. The mother stood watching, then went outside. Sun followed her. And from that point on, the dark days began. For 3 consecutive days, he didn't come home, he didn't call. Lan was angry. She thought she had had enough of the pressure from Sun's mother. But she felt nauseous, tired, and unwell. And when a colleague told her to go for a checkup, she discovered she was pregnant. Lan stood at the hospital gate, tears welling up in her eyes. Why hadn't Sun, the man who had loved Lan so much, considered this possibility? Leaving the hospital gate, Lan met Sun. After 3 days apart, Sun looked so haggard she was unrecognizable. Lan wanted to turn away, but couldn't bring herself to. She called out to Sun, but Sun looked at her with a strange, cold gaze, as if filled with hatred. Lan's heart was broken. Lan hailed a taxi. The moment the car door closed, Lan just wanted to scream, "Sun, I'm carrying our child," but Lan couldn't. That night, Sun sneaked back to get his savings passbook and some money. He didn't say a word, didn't even look at Lan once. Lan understood that Sun had probably decided to leave her for good. The next morning, Lan went to Sun's company. The secretary looked at Lan with concern. The CEO's mother was in an accident and is in the emergency room. Lan felt weak all over. By the time Lan arrived at the hospital, Mrs. Hugh had already passed away. Throughout the funeral, Sun didn't say a word to Lan. Not even a glance betrayed his hatred. Lan asked an acquaintance and learned that Mrs. Hugh had left because she was upset about the argument between Lan and her husband. She walked distraught to the bus station. As she crossed the road, a bus sped towards her. Lan understood why Sun harbors such hatred. In Sun's eyes, Lan was indirectly the cause of his mother's death. The next day, Sun moved into his mother's room to sleep. Lan wanted to tell Sun about the baby, but Sun's cold gaze made her speechless. Lan moved to her mother's room to sleep. She wanted to tell Sun about the baby, but Sun's cold gaze made her speechless. One day, Lan saw Sun sitting in a fancy restaurant opposite a young woman. Sun gently stroked her hair. Lan walked in and stood in front of them. Sun didn't panic. He didn't avoid her gaze. He just looked at Lan with eyes that had once been filled with passionate love, but were now empty. That night, Sun didn't come home, and from that day on, Sun never returned. Lan went to her prenatal appointments alone, went to work alone, and came home alone with her growing pregnant belly. Her colleagues advised her to have an abortion, but she couldn't. The baby was the only thing that gave her a sense of purpose in life. Then one day, Sun returned, only to place the divorce papers on the table. Lan was strangely calm. She hung up her coat, turned around, and signed immediately. But as she unbuttoned her coat, her stomach was slightly exposed. Sun's gaze lingered. He asked tremblingly, "Lan, are you pregnant?" Lan nodded and whispered, "Yes, but Sun, you can go ahead." Sun embraced Lan in the darkness. They both wept, but Lan's heart could never be the same again. The old hatred was too deep. Sun had deliberately hurt Lan, while Lan had unintentionally hurt Sun. From the day she signed the divorce papers, Lan's heart froze. She refused gifts from Sun, wouldn't eat his cooking, and wouldn't speak to him. Sun slept in his mother's room, and Lan slept in the living room. Night after night, Sun groaned from his illness. In the past, whenever Sun pretended to be in pain, Lan would rush to his side worried. Now Lan felt nothing anymore. Isin buys things for the baby every day, from tiny socks and baby bottles to children's used books. Sin's room is full of adorable little things. SN tries to move Lan, but Lan's heart is already weary. One late spring night, Lan's stomach ached terribly. She screamed. Sun rushed out, carried Lan downstairs, and hailed a taxi to the hospital. All the way there, Sun held Lan's hand tightly and continuously wiped the sweat from her forehead. In that moment, lying on Sun's back, Lan suddenly thought, "In this lifetime, will anyone ever love Lan as much as Sun?" Sun carried Lan into the delivery room. Lan turned her head to look at Sun. Sun's eyes were so gentle at that moment. When Lan gave birth, Sun brought the baby over, smiling but with tears welling up in his eyes. Lan held Sun's hand. His hand was very cold. Then Sun collapsed right next to the bed. Lan screamed Sun's name. SN smiled, but couldn't open his eyes anymore. The doctor says Sun has end-stage liver cancer. Sun tried to live each day to see his child born. He discovered his illness 5 months ago. Lan rushed to open Sun's computer. Hundreds of pages of text appeared. It was the diary Sun had left for his child. "My dear child, I've lived to see you. As you grow up, you'll face many joys and challenges. I can't accompany you the whole way, so I've written down here what you need to know. You must love your mother. She is the one who loves you the most, and also the one your father loves the most." Sun wrote for his child from kindergarten, through growing up, going to school, falling in love, and starting a career. Sun wrote about his child's entire childhood, which he will never get to witness. Sun also left a letter for Lan. "My dear Lan, marrying you is the greatest happiness of my life. Please forgive me for hiding my illness, because I wanted you to be safe and sound while waiting for our child to be born. If you're crying right now, it means you've forgiven Sun. Sun thanks you for always loving him." When Lan returned to the hospital, Sun was still in a coma. Lan placed the baby in Sun's arms and said, trembling, "Sun, open your eyes and look at me for a moment, so I can remember the moment I was held in my father's arms." Sun tried to open his eyes slightly and smiled, a faint smile. Lan pressed the camera button. Click, click, and let the tears fall hot and long. That night, the hospital was bathed in a soft, melancholic yellow light, like a wordless melody. Lan, sitting next to Sun, her hand never leaving the thin, bony hand of the man who had once lifted Lan up and spun her around in the sun on the balcony of their apartment building. Sun lay still, his breath as thin as a thread, but his heart continued to beat persistently, as if trying to hold on for just one more moment to stay with Lan and her child. Lan pressed her cheek against Sun's increasingly cold hand, Son, please don't leave me and our child. I'm sorry for misunderstanding, for being thoughtless, for not hugging you sooner. If time could turn back, Lan would want to hear Son's morning nagging one more time, to be lifted up and spun around by him like in the early days of their marriage. Lan wanted to tell Son that she had never stopped loving him. It was just that the pain had obscured that feeling. The doctor walked in, shaking his head ever so slightly, as if afraid to shatter the fragile space that held Son's hopes higher than glass. SN only had a few hours left. Lan carried her child closer, leaned in, and whispered in Son's ear, "Son, it's me. It's our child." Son's eyes opened one last time. A single tear welled up in the corner of his eye. Then Son gently pursed his lips and smiled a gentle smile that Lan had loved since their first meeting. All the love in Son's life seemed to be poured into that one moment. Son's hand trembled slightly as he tried to lift it to touch his child's cheek, but only managed to move it a little. Lan took his hand, pressing it against the baby's skin, as if completing the final gesture for Son. Babies are so warm, and the baby's tiny hand grasped Son's finger. At that moment, Lan wished time would stop. But time listens to no one. Son's breathing faded. The vital signs monitor showed a long silent line. So, the man who loved Lan with all his heart is gone. A month later, when she had calmed down, Lan finally dared to open the last folder on Son's laptop. There was a single file there, titled, "My beloved wife opens it when she misses Son." Lan tremblingly opened it. There was only a short sentence. "If one day Son leaves first, live happily, because Son was happy his whole life with you." Included is a photo. Lan took the day Son opened his eyes to see his child for the last time. A moment that lasted only a few seconds, but something Lan wants to cherish for the rest of her life. Every time Lan looked at that photo, she would ask herself, if only Lan had been a little more patient with Mrs. Hugh, if only Lan and Son had sat down and talked sooner, if only Lan hadn't let small misunderstandings kill the great love they shared. But in this world, the only thing no one can save is the what-if scenario. Lan's son was only a few hours old when his father died. Growing up, he had eyes just like hers. Brown-skinned, gentle, and always a good listener. Lan taught her child how to be compassionate and how to live a decent life, just as written in her father's diary. Every birthday, Lan would print out a page from that diary and place it on her child's desk, so her child would know that there was a man who had loved her even before he knew her and who loved Lan with all the sincerity of his heart. As for Lan, every time she looks at the last photo taken in the hospital room that day, she remembers the opening line of the story. There are small misunderstandings, but they are enough to derail the steps taken towards happiness. And Lan told herself, "Don't wait until you lose everything to realize how much you once had." Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that aims to connect and inspire.